What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are floating our way through time as we discuss a ghost story.
In this singular exploration of legacy, love, loss, and the enormity of existence, a recently deceased white-sheeted ghost returns to his suburban home to try to reconnect with his bereft wife. I have so many thoughts on this movie. I can't fire them all off right now, but I just, can I preface this real fast by saying I did not read the log line or watch the trailer before I saw this movie. Take that for what you will. We also have a wonderful guest joining us on this episode, Marta McFly of McFly's Movie House podcast. Welcome to the pod, Marta. How are you?
Hello. It's so nice to be back here. It's been I think maybe a year since the last time I was on this podcast, but yeah, I'm happy to be back. Hello to both of you.
It's been way too long. I'm excited you're here. I'm looking forward to this conversation, to say the least. I think Ethan texted me the second he was done with the movie. He's like, "Did you watch it?" Like, "No, not yet." He's like, "I have to talk about it." Like,
yeah.
Usually, like, we're pretty good about not talking about movies until we're chatting, but once I knew he was like, he had opinions either way. So
yes, I couldn't withhold. As soon as I
was it your first? It was your first watch, Ethan?
Of A Ghost Story?
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie that I thought was spooky because it said ghost in the title. 100%. We're gonna get into this. This is, in my opinion, a wild ride that I've been on with this film. Marta, you have wanted to come on for A Ghost Story for a long time. I feel like we've had you penned in the schedule for a long time. We were trying to get you back on the show, and you were pretty adamant that you wanted to come on for A Ghost Story. We'll talk about the movie, and we're going to do like general thoughts here in a second. Movie info came out in 2017, debuted at Sundance, which I think is interesting and of note. Directed by David Lowery, the classic king of One for You, One for Me, which I love, and I would love to take a little divergence into that realm of his life. Also directed The Green Knight for A24. Movie is 1 hour and 32 minutes long, stars Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. I guess let's just get into it because I have a lot of things I got to say about A Ghost Story. Marta, I want to start with you because you wanted to come on for this movie specifically. So what do you think of A Ghost Story?
I ate my words. And I remember this exact conversation that we all had. I think it was on your draft pod. And I was just praising it. This is now my third watch, and I still very much so like it. Very much so. But I found that this time around, the second half was a lot less stronger for me than the first. So,
that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I don't know how much you want me to say now, but it definitely did. Like, my rating changed on Letterboxd.
Oh.
Wow, that much of a difference.
I mean, it's not that big of a difference. It's like a half a star difference.
But still, yeah.
But change is a change, though, Marta.
It changes a change. Yes.
Okay, interesting. No, I think this is good. Let's lay that as your base. Just so we can all move forward in the conversation once we've all kind of got our thoughts out there. Just do it, Ben. Just tell me what you thought of A Ghost Story, because I don't have a lot of faith. I got to be honest with you.
I honestly just want to listen to Marta talk about it. Like, I just kind of want to sit back and like listen to what she has to say.
You don't want to listen to me? Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I would love to listen to you as well. If the time permitting, if we've got time. But yeah, no, I actually really like this movie a lot. I thought it was really, really good. I'd say for the first, I don't know, up until the hospital scene, or the morgue scene, I guess, to be more specific, I was just like, I kind of like what they're doing, but I just don't know what's going on yet, like what's happening here. And then that happens, and I just like, I fucking love a long take so much. I love a long take, and we got so many of those in this movie, and I think that's also why I really liked it, because I was just like, oh shit, yeah, let's watch her eat this whole fucking pie. Like, let's not cut. I don't want different angle. I don't want anything. I just want to watch this. So yeah, I loved it cinematically. I loved the storytelling. I loved, like, these are some of the most minimal performances I think we've ever seen in movies, like in general. That's a really broad statement, but like, I just kind of feel like, just given what the script was, like they didn't have a lot to work with as far as like dialogue and shit, but they were fantastic. So Yeah, I had a great time with this movie. I thought it was fantastic, and this was a first watch for me. If anyone can't tell, but this was wonderful.
I'm shocked. I'm beside myself. I thought for sure you were gonna hate this movie.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm ready to
Wow.
rewatch it. Honestly, like my partner wasn't able to watch it with me, and I just like immediately like let's just all watch it again right now. Like I think it's great.
Did you guys cry?
Incredible. Oh, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta stop doing it at work. I gotta be honest. I gotta stop finishing stuff because it's getting embarrassing. But yeah, it's so good.
Well, I'll round us out here, and I will echo a lot of what Ben said. I loved this movie, and I wasn't sold initially. I was like, okay, what are we doing? Like, we're quite slow, which, like, that's the thing. Nothing against it. I got it. This is we're setting the vibe. This is what we're doing. And then the morgue. And I guess what you could like constitute. I mean, like, we know the movie's about a ghost, but like we sit in that morgue for a long time, enough time for you to be like, okay, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden we have a ghost. And I think that's really, for me, where the movie takes off. Yes, I cried, and I cried at what I think is a really weird part of the movie to cry at. So I'd like to like come back to this conversation about like what maybe made us tear up. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about this movie in broad strokes. And then we'll do true cinema and kind of work our way through the film. I know our listeners have been waiting for us to do a ghost story for a long time. I even had somebody comment on my Letterboxd review, like, finally, you guys are covering a ghost story. So we heard you, the two of you, and we are here, and we are for you. We're covering a ghost story. I want to circle back to David Lowery, because every time I feel like David Lowery gets brought up in a conversation, it's like, I'm always like, oh yeah, the guy that made The Green Knight, and everybody else is like, yeah, the guy that made A Ghost Story, dude. Like, that's what he made. Really interesting to learn that he took the funds that he made from Pete's Dragon to fund this film, A Ghost Story. Like I'll reiterate, but like the master of one for you, one for me, he's figured out like, I'll just go make a studio blockbuster, and then I'll use that money to make something dope like A Ghost Story or the Green Knight. And I think that's pretty cool. Casey Affleck, Rooney Mara in this movie. Ben, you mentioned two really memorable performances. What did you guys think of their performances? Because like, you're really scraping to be like, they performed, like they acted. It's tough for me.
Who wants to go first?
I'm just here to listen to you, Marta. So you always go first.
Okay. So, I mean, this is one thing that I feel was brought up quite a bit when this movie came out, especially in regards to Casey Affleck, because people are like, haha, he wears a sheet for the majority of the movie. How is that acting? Well, I think it actually, requires a lot out of him, because he conveys so much by through wearing a sheet, right? Like, he knows when to hunch his shoulders over. He knows his gait, the way he walks is very specific, right? So, I mean, I think his performance is fantastic considering he was under a sheet the whole time. And then you have Rooney Mara eating like, I don't even know how many pies to get that one take. So like,
yeah,
she's over here grieving. He's in a sheet. I think they're great performances overall.
I've never seen a ghost look so sad. I will say that.
Yeah.
The very sad looking ghost.
Very.
Yeah.
Even when he sees the other ghosts and they're like waving to each other and stuff, like even just that
So
little movie.
sad.
Cried there.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
so
gosh.
bad. Yeah.
So I mentioned at the top of the pod that I didn't know what this movie was. Can I digress for a minute to like talk about this, because I need to vent, and this is kind of my place to do this. So, we've had a ghost story on the schedule for a long time. Obviously, it's October, it's spooky season. I was like, cool, a ghost story. This is great. This is a movie about a ghost. Of course, it is a movie about a ghost. I then proceeded to not read the Letterboxd description, the IMDb logline. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't know anything outside of a poster that just had a ghost on it, which quite honestly, the poster resembles a lot about the movie It Comes at Night, which instead just has like a wolf on the poster. Very similar. That's a good spooky movie. Turns out A Ghost Story, not really that spooky, much more depressing. Molly watched this, my partner. We watched this together because we thought we were in store for a little bit of a spooky movie. And I mean, we're like 25 minutes in and we're like, God damn it, this is really sad. Like, this is really depressing. And like, we didn't know we were going that route. Which I think is really interesting that I ended up loving it as much as I did, because my expectations were not what I got out of the film. And this kind of a movie can very easily be like, I'm not on that wavelength. It didn't work for me. Because it's very quiet, it's very still, it's very prolonged. And I think that it's beautiful in that aspect. So, okay, thank you guys for letting me share my watching experience. I felt like it
Can
could have
I
been a traumatic experience, but it ended up being very beneficial.
can I counter to
Of
that
course,
point?
please.
Ooh, here's a good counter. What if I was to say that it is a horror movie? Because
Yeah,
what if we say that the greatest horror of all is having your loved ones forget you?
you got to stop. I can't cry right now. Please stop, Marta. This is no good,
Yeah, I mean it's the truth though. It's 100%. Like,
guys.
yeah.
Please.
So there you go.
Too much.
Food
I'm
for
with
thought.
Ben. I'm like, let's fire this movie up again tonight. My God, like I
Yeah.
didn't think I was gonna like this movie as much as I did. So I will say another quick little sidebar is that because the movie was of a theme and tone that we were not anticipating, we did have our fair share of like little breakouts that like we were like, oh, this is pretty funny, because like if you don't come at it with like the deadly serious tone that it requires of you, it can definitely be more on that side of like, let's joke about this movie because it is so depressing. And we were like, man, what if it turned out that Rooney Mara was actually a vampire, and so like a vampire and a ghost were together? That would be kind of spooky. So that was our like spooky reconciliation of the film. Movie shot in a 133:1 aspect ratio. Marta, I want you to talk about this because I'm interested in what you thought about this decision. It kind of plays like a 16 millimeter film frame, essentially. I thought a brilliant stroke from David Lowery.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it speaks to the entire film, right? It, as you were saying, it looks, nostalgic. It feels like memories. It feels like a home movie at some parts, especially that first half. So that speaks to memories. You could also argue that the Academy ratio is purposely being done to portray him being in a box and
Yep.
he can't leave because he's a ghost who can't
Yeah.
leave. So maybe that ratio is speaking to that as well. So I mean I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well. I picked up on those like home movie vibes. It's just like it feels like we're experiencing someone's, home movies here and their stories, and in a way, like he's also now watching all these other people's home movies. So I thought it was a super cool move.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think it was a super cool move. I think it actually like makes the movie work. Like that's putting a lot on this kind of technical choice, but I do think it does carry that much weight and is really impressive in what it does. You guys talked about the pie. I want to talk about the pie for a second. What kind of pie would you guys do that to? What kind of pie are you grieving to?
All
And eating a
pie.
whole pie. All pie. All pie is good pie, right?
All pie is good pie. Except for I have opinions about lemon meringue. I like the lemon, I don't like the meringue. But any other pie.
Wow. You cast a
Interesting.
very wide net with that opinion. That's
Okay,
interesting.
but pumpkin, apple, cherry, rhubarb.
Do you prefer a savory pie or a sweet pie?
Oh, I like a good meat pie too.
Wow, not where I went, but very Canadian of you. I appreciate that. I was thinking more like a pecan pie, a little more on the savory side. Meat pie. That's interesting. What if Rooney Mara was eating a meat pie?
Just went down to the pub and got herself a meat pie. I love it.
That's a depressing pie. Meat pie.
That would be a very depressing pie.
I mean, as you and Sophie and I have talked about, I'm not a pie person at all.
Right,
So, but give me a carton of ice cream, some mint chip, and I'm good to go.
It's
I'll
classic.
crush it.
Would it inspire you to know that I purchased a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream last night at the store?
Yeah, I feel
After
closer to you
watching
now.
this?
Prior, actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it was destined. It was really what
Nice.
it was. So
Truly.
yeah,
I like it.
we are now closer than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the pie scene is sublime and also just incredible, like on all aspects. I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit on like the vile side of like, man, we're sticking to it. We're doing this. We're just eating a pie for 4 minutes. If you look on the IMDb trivia, it does say that she shot it for 4 minutes exactly, and then proceeds to head to the restroom. but I think the blocking of that scene in particular is just like wondrous, and the way that Casey Affleck is a ghost. And I know I'm breaking down the scene a little bit, but apparently the pie turned out to be a vegan chocolate pie per Rooney Mara's request. David Lowery said it tasted good. Rooney Mara said it was terrible. You guys think it tasted like whose team are you on that one?
I mean, she's got more experience, I would imagine, with vegan food, so she's probably had some like great stuff. But like, I don't know, Oreos are vegan. Like, I think you could make a decent chocolate pie. So I don't know.
She's committed though, so
yeah,
good for her.
Yeah, good for her. I don't think I could do it. It was a vegan chocolate pie. I don't think that would work. It's got to be, for me, it's got to be a chocolate cream pie. Really, apple would be like a second. But I'm also not very much of a pie guy. So again, I didn't go towards the meat pie. That's why I was like, that's not what I was thinking of. Molly did say, like, what if it was a quiche? I'd be like, huh, a little large for a quiche, but interesting idea.
I've seen large quiches before.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This, in my opinion, is why I podcast. This is the good stuff.
To learn about the family quiche.
So we can learn about the size of quiches that we've seen.
I mean, if it's a large quiche, then that is a pie, right? Like, at what point does a quiche become a pie?
That's what I'm saying. Can you even classify it as a quiche, though? At that point in time, it's definitely a pie.
This is a real, like, hamburger, is it a sandwich kind of conversation? It's a hot dog, a sandwich.
Hot dog, a sandwich.
Like, yeah, I like this.
Is a large quiche a pie? That's now that's a question.
It's a really good question.
We have all consumed a ghost story, and this is what we walked away with.
Is a quiche a pie?
Big questions about life. Okay, I have a couple more general questions about the film. Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, they are just referred to as C and M. I kind of want to ask a broad question to both of you real fast. The stakes of this movie and the stakes of their relationship is it enough? Like, they don't even have names, right? Like, is that important to their story? Does the movie service their story enough? Do we feel enough heartbreak? Or should the movie have leaned more into that world of their relationship?
Yes and no. I think them not having names or just having initials could speak a bit more to the whole concept of grief as universal. So it touches more of us. But then at the same time, because of my reservations about the second half of the film, maybe they should have names to make it more personal. I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like we don't get names for anybody that lives in that area, you know. So it's just to me, it was just kind of representative of just like everyone's coming and going. Like it's all pretty fluid here. No one stays here forever, kind of thing. That's how I took it. It's just like it really doesn't matter what their names are because they're not going to stay here. I thought the stakes were interesting. I think it played really well at the end. I mean, obviously, like we're spoiling this movie for anyone that hasn't seen it, but it's like when he's finally like, okay, we can go. She's like, oh fuck that. Now I get why he said that, and then to me, it just drives it home the impact of what happens afterwards. So I thought it worked great.
Yeah, I do think it works well to what you said, Marta, like the universality of everything. I will die behind this mic. That's how you'll find me as a ghost. So I will live on forever in your ear pods.
Just a floating beanie. Headphones. Oh, Ethan's here.
Look who's fighting again. The ghost of Ethan. Who would have thought? Okay, before we get into True Cinema, Marta, I do want to ask you, can you delineate for me why the second half didn't work for you as well on this kind of a rewatch?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if it's exactly at the halfway mark. I can't really remember. I should have written it down. The part where Rooney Mara leaves. After she leaves, and then we get into all the other families. Wait, can I be spoiling this right now or
no?
Full spoilers.
Okay, good. So after Rooney Mara leaves, and I guess to me, it kind of diminishes the significance of the story being about grief. And by that, I mean, because the first half for me is so strong this movie was at one point, like, I loved this movie and I still like it quite a bit. So these criticisms, I mean, they're not even that major, but anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. So So I think that the start is such a strong portrayal of grief. There's so many moments when I watch Rooney Mara where I'm like, wow, this may be one of my favorite depictions of grief ever. So for that bar to be that high and then to leave her entirely and go into this like wider scope of these universal themes that I'm sure we're going to get into, it almost kind of diminishes that first half for me because the first half was so strong. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's super interesting, and I'm curious on rewatches if I will pick up on the same thing. I think with this being a first time watch, I was here for all of it. You know, like it all kind of worked for me. But I'd be curious on rewatches of just like, man, we really take a swerve here once she leaves the house. Yeah.
The thing for me is I mean, yeah, I would love for you guys to rewatch and let me know what you think. But on first watch for me, I was like the pie scene. That's, my favorite example of grief in this movie. But now on rewatch, I was noticing little minor things that really stuck out to me, like the time she takes to change her sheets, her bed sheets.
Mm.
And then her sitting down and, kind of smelling them. And that's a huge decision to wash these sheets that, your partner was sleeping in. I don't know how long ago. Or the fact that when she goes to bed, she sleeps on his side of the bed. Because at the start we noticed she has her other side. So it's these little tiny things I picked up on this rewatch that I was like, wow, this is a lot more impactful than I initially thought.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, but I also disagree. I think it's really interesting because the second half worked much more effectively for me because it spread the narrative apart, because it didn't confine itself to just this relationship. And like, I'm a sucker. Anybody that like has listened to the pod or follows me on Letterboxd knows like I'm a sucker for like time spanning, grandiose, like how does time impact our presence as humans? Like that's why I like Megalopolis, is because it does that. And like that's just the thing that I gravitate towards. So the second half of the movie works better on me, but I do think the movie is trying to like have its pie and eat it too, kind of a thing. Like I think it's trying to like do everything, right? It's trying to be super intimate and really, really honed in and focused. And then it's also trying to be like, we spanned hundreds of years. Like I don't know. And we're trying to do it all. And I think that's really interesting. And I actually think it really works. So I'd be curious on a rewatch if I am attracted to the first half more than I was the first time I watched it, because I know what that means as a facet and as a gear within the larger like machine of the storytelling. So I think that could be really interesting. Any other broad general thoughts about A Ghost Story before we start breaking this movie down scene by scene?
I think I'm gonna save mine for
Wow.
bit by bit.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds intense. All right, awesome. Well, let's start breaking this movie down, and we will discuss A Ghost Story. Okay, so pretty much we have this big prologue. I've just written it down as a bullet point of like a quote unquote prologue. We get this like home video of them, and they're kind of telling us about little affects and mentions of like their lives and what they do and their relationship, and you can obviously very innately see like they're very, very close. And we get them laying in bed together and waking up, hearing some sounds, going back to bed together. Very intimate, very personal kind of prologue. And I'll stop that there because that's kind of the end of this very nice, I don't know, maybe troubled like love story. It wasn't obvious to me to pick up on that the first time that I watched it.
I wouldn't say. I think it's just your average couple. I mean, I don't know. I argue with my partner about like similar stuff. Like he won't do something, and then I'll just be
Oh,
like, "Well, why
I've
aren't you doing this?" You know what I mean? So
I've
I
never
don't
had a
know.
disagreement with my partner. Never, not in my life.
Not
10,
once.
Well.
10 years we've been married, not once.
Nice.
Ben obviously can debunk that because he was in Vegas when Molly was like, "Don't buy another drink at 3 a.m."
You
and
don't
I
need
so
another
clearly
drink.
did.
Yes, I do. I need a yardstick. So here, I'm actually going to divert to a question to you guys because maybe I missed something, but like, why was this rated R?
Whoa, this movie's rated R.
I
Whoa.
thought so.
Question.
Is it?
Let's find out.
I thought that's what
so
Max said. It was like
curious.
rated R, but maybe not.
No. Maybe because of the car accident?
It is definitely, it is rated R. It is in fact rated R.
I don't
Wow, this is
mm.
fascinating.
Oh, because wait, I'm keep being like scared to spoil things.
No, full
No, yeah,
spoilers.
full.
Jump around.
Yeah, the skeleton of the little girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
But then she also has, don't
I'd
we
love
see
to see that
like
if I was 11 years old.
arrows?
Did you have what?
Can't we see arrows in her? Like,
Yeah, the whole family, the whole
fresh?
Pioneer family. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
got arrows in
So
them. That makes sense, I guess. I just like my brain went there because I'm like, oh, we're just gonna get like we must be getting some sort of nudity between the couple or something like that. Like there's no
nothing.
language. Like I was anticipating that with this whole prologue. I was like, because I don't know where we're gonna get this rated R stuff afterwards. So yeah, it still just
So-
kind of stuck with me. It's like, why is this R? It doesn't feel that intense. But yeah, seeing a Pioneer girl skeleton with an arrow in it is pretty gnarly.
Okay, so I have two things to quickly say. One of them, would this movie be better, because it is rated R, so you can do this. Would this movie be better if Casey Affleck hung dong before he turned into a ghost?
If
Oh,
he
or if
what?
it's just like a
Hung
really
brain a little bit, just like what a little bit
full
of a
frontal.
full frontal, a little bit of a
Oh.
different man situation, right? Like we get a little peek down the hallway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Or
I'm
what
just
what
throwing
if
it
it's
out
like in Slice and the thing just wasn't long enough, so just like down to his waist, his sheet, so he just had a top half covered the whole movie. He's just naked the whole time. What if that's like, yeah, how he died? Like you just like how you die is what you look like in the afterlife. That'd be kind of funny. It's a totally different movie. It's a totally different movie, but that'd be kind of funny.
I love that you brought up Slice, because I couldn't help but when I was watching Ghost be like, okay, what are the logistics of the ghost here? This is really interesting. I
Yeah,
need to know what's
we
happening
gotta
with the
know.
ghost. Slice, the movie that just
Have you seen Slice, Marta?
stinks.
No.
Don't
I'm-
watch it. It's so
You're
bad.
good.
Marta.
You're good. But
They
I'm
don't
just
explain the
curious.
logistics of how ghosts work.
It doesn't
You
make
know?
sense.
It doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
well, I'm curious.
Okay, so that was my point number one. My point number two, since you guys have brought this forth, it is a scene later that I've mentioned, that I've written down in the notes, but you guys said it and I have alluded to it before. The moment that we find out that the Pioneer family has been shot and killed with arrows, that is when I cried, which I find very strange.
Oh.
I don't know why. I can't tell you what about that scene was so sad, but it like panned up and the dad had like 3 arrows in his back, and I was like,
Mhm.
God damn it. They just wanted to build a house, they were just trying to build a house.
Start a
And
new life.
they were murdered in cold blood. And something about that just made me cry.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
I mean, this movie's so personal that I feel like everybody's gonna cry at different moments, or you'll
Mhm.
cry throughout almost all of it, like I do. But
Yeah.
That scene also brought up the logistics of ghosts to make some like, well, are all 5 of these family members now ghosts somewhere else? Like, I'm curious.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, like
but
how does that
maybe
work?
they wouldn't be because they have nobody to wait for because they're all dead.
They're all
Yeah,
dead.
exactly. Yeah, so maybe
Oh.
that's what it is. So I
Interesting.
don't know. So cool.
Well,
So
I'll
cool.
always have you guys, so I'll be a ghost until you guys die, at least. You guys will always remember me.
That's reassuring.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's the moment that did me in. So I thought it was worth mentioning. Okay, so we've talked about the prologue. I think is great. Is interesting if you're in my shoes where you don't know what you're getting into, because I was like, what are we doing? But I thought it worked out well. Next bullet point I have on here is the accident. So this is where a traffic accident occurs and the camera pans around the car to find that Casey Affleck was in fact driving this vehicle. Now, this is probably the scene that I have the most logistical questions about.
Same.
Was he out getting coffee? Like, did this happen in the morning? Like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that the scene is ineffective, because it's obviously very effective and it's very abrupt. And I think that it is designed to be such a way, but like, I don't know. I kind of would have liked like 5 seconds of like him drinking his coffee and then bam. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a personal preference.
I zeroed in on something. It's so dumb. Like I hate it when my brain does this, but I guess it was just like I said, like third time watching this, I was like looking for random things, but The way I understood it, I agree with you, Ethan. I thought it was the morning.
Yeah.
Like I thought
Mhm.
it was him going to work or whatever. And it was interesting to me where the car was placed. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, if he did he back up? Did he leave like normally? Like how did he leave? Because his car looks like it's coming back towards the house.
Mhm.
And then the neighbor's car is going forward. So that to me was like, well, how is that going to be a fatal car accident? But again, I
Interesting.
mean, that's such a stupid thing to bring up. It's not even like the
So
point.
David
what I'm
Lowery, come on the pod
yeah,
and
that's
explain
what I'm hearing.
yourself.
David
I
Lowery,
need
come
to
on the pod.
know. Yeah.
That's where I was going with that one. Yeah, I'm pulling it up real fast. I'm scrubbing for this scene, and it takes a while for us to get to the big car accident. So maybe come back in 5 minutes when I have reached that spot of the film, and
Let's just do it live on the pod. We'll just wait for you to get there. Just dead air.
I mean,
as we wait for you to
literally, this
scrub.
entire time we've been talking is just the slow zoom onto Casey Affleck with his head against the steering wheel. That's literally
Nice.
all that it is.
Perfect.
But I must have, like, what do we see? Oh, interesting.
No, you
I don't
just
really see
see
anything.
somebody walking in that field, which is Rooney Mara, right? I would assume, or
Ooh, is it that?
maybe not.
That wasn't my
It's
take.
someone, and then
Interesting.
it pans over, and you just see the car coming back. So I mean, maybe you're right, Ethan. Maybe he was out getting coffee and coming back. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter. I'm just picking at this like small little thing, but
You
it
know what
did.
it? You know what it
You know,
probably was. He's
hmm,
probably out getting some pie.
Getting some pie.
there you
That's
go.
what did him in. Tough
Or was
beat.
it a quiche? What was he getting? Hard to
We'll
say.
never
Was it
know.
a large quiche or was it a pie?
Okay, so the next scene, Ben, you mentioned the big oneer in the morgue,
Mhm.
and he basically comes to life, and begins to walk through the morgue. I have a lot of logistical questions that I'm just gonna throw you guys' way because I'm naturally a very curious person about ghosts. But he proceeds to walk through the morgue. He gets to the end of the hallway, and now this is a thing that I want to discuss with you guys. It could fall under the logistics question side of things. A door appears, a portal
Oh yeah.
appears. What is this?
Oh,
What is
yeah.
this in your guys' opinion? Because when this happened, when this appeared, I was like, whoa, this is not going in the direction I thought. And then it proceeds to close again. And basically the next thing we know, we're back at the house. And Casey Affleck as the ghost is confined to the home space.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have no clue. I thought this was gonna be like a portal thing that explained how ghosts can like walk through walls or whatever. You know, that's what I thought it was at first. I'm like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. And then it closed up on him, and it's like, well, fuck. Okay, so I have no idea what he was just looking at. So I have nothing to offer and like no clue what this is.
Yeah, same. I just kind of accepted it. It's just, kind of like checkpoints in video games. Like when
Hmm.
you die, it takes you back to your
Oh
last
yeah,
checkpoint.
this is your checkpoint now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
That's
also maybe it
fascinating.
was a morgue in a hospital. I assume they have those, so maybe it's a like combo. But I feel like he was
Mhm.
walking through the hospital or something, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the checkpoint reasoning.
So then a much more broad logistical question for you so we can square this away here. Casey Affleck as the ghost is confined not to the home, but to the space in which the home occupies, right? This kind of plot of land.
Mhm.
Is that like same with the neighbor ghost, right? The neighbor ghost is occupying this space of land in which the home just resides. Do you guys think that's how ghosts work? Like, am I going to be confined to this shed, this space of land when I become a ghost or what? Like, how does he get from the morgue to the house? That's my question.
I think, and this is just from like, I don't know, think of all the other ghost movies you've watched, like haunting movies.
Mhm.
It's always going to be where, or not always, but usually it's where a ghost has unfinished business, right?
Yeah.
So his
Wow.
unfinished business is at the house. Same with neighbor ghost because they're waiting for somebody too.
I
I
love that
like
we
it.
named it Neighbor Ghost. I think
Neighbor
that's
ghost. Yeah. Yeah.
unfinished business sounds so serious.
I like it. I think it's
Yeah.
exactly what it is, though. Yeah,
Okay.
that's where he had the unfinished business. It felt like he had the autonomy to go wherever because, like, he decides to go back to his house, like from the hospital. Like we watch
Oh
him
yeah.
walking. It's not like he just like appeared there or anything like that. So it's like he made the choice. So
Oh,
I don't
right.
know, but it felt like the time jumps were as confusing to him as they were to us. Like he didn't know what he was experiencing either. So
Hmm.
yeah, unfinished business.
that was pretty cool when he was walking through the field. I was just like,
Yeah.
man, David Lowery's got that eye. Like,
That shot was
holy
cool.
cow. That kind of composition in a lot of these shots is really, really well done. It also just, I was like, oh man, I thought ghosts could float. You know, I thought they would like go through the city like, ooh, and then show up at the house. And
You're just like,
turns out he
fuck,
just-
I'm still gonna have to walk everywhere. This sucks.
Exactly.
I just wanted to float.
Turns out he just walks. So when you become a ghost, you can't, nothing's happening for you. You're just walking. I hate to break it to you. Okay, next one on the list, pie eating. We've kind of talked about this a little bit. If you have anything more to say, this is the time. But basically, a friend brings over a pie in which Rooney Mara proceeds to just eat away her feelings and her depression and then vomit them back up. And it's probably one of the most depressing food scenes I've ever seen in my life. Like I mentioned, the composition of this, where the ghost is just watching. For me, I'm just like, man, imagine being Casey Affleck. And I had this conversation with my partner, and I was like, if I was around, would you be okay like eating that pie? If you were like, man, Ethan's ghost is around, I guess I'm just gonna devour this whole pie. She was like, yeah, sure, what the hell? And I was like, wow, that's a bold play. I understand, but it's ridiculously sad from Casey Affleck's point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I don't even know what else to add about this scene. Yeah, I mean, we were saying earlier, it's a great portrayal of grief. I think the sound design in this scene is fantastic. Each like
Yes.
stab of the fork is
Yeah.
like guttural for me. It's so sad. And also lastly, was it her friend or was it her I think it was her
realtor, I believe.
realtor.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I picked up on it this time. I was like, how dare you go away? The point that's like, P.S. let me know when the painters should come.
Yeah.
I'd be throwing that pie in her face if like I just went through such a big loss and you're asking me like, when should I ask the painters to come? Get out of here.
For real. That is not the time at all.
No.
Yeah, no, it was another logistics scene for me too, where it's just like, did Rooney Mara like not eat the day before so she could like super hungry this day? Because like,
oh, like a real logistics of like, how did she film
real
this?
logistics? Yeah, like how did she film this?
Interesting.
Where it's just like, I know I'm gonna do this, Lowry, you better get this in one take, make sure the camera's rolling, like I'm gonna do this once and that's it, because like this isn't a spit bucket kind of scene by any means. So I don't know, but sound design, I thought about that as well. I was like, I wonder how many different kind of plates they tested this on, because it was such like a satisfying noise each and every time. And yeah, I thought the scene worked so well. And then like you said, the 4-minute mark, just like bolting up and just running to the bathroom, was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, it's so well done.
The sound design is what led me to believe that she might have been consuming a pecan pie, because I was like, well, it sounds like there's a little bit of friction in that pie, and that a blueberry or an apple would not constitute that sound. But yeah, it might have been a plate thing. Good question.
And here's a point, Ben, to you asking about the actual logistics. Maybe this just came to me. Maybe all of that stabbing of the pie was going on because she wasn't eating as much.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
maybe
for
she was
sure.
more so moving it around and then taking smaller bites, and then that's how she did it.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. Yeah, none of them look like huge amounts of food or anything like that. So yeah, I think that totally tracks.
A lot of pie, regardless. Honestly, she goes
lot of
down on
pie.
that thing. Next bullet point I have here is leaving the house 3 times. So I wanted to put this on here because Rooney Mara walks out of the home, and it's kind of the first time where she leaves the space. And so you kind of have this big thematic overhang of like, oh my God, like life is moving on. Like it's still happening. And like my guy's just a sad little ghost, and that's not really fair to him. And then David Lowery has this really interesting thing that like really shocked me when I saw it. Was like, she exits the house and then she comes back out of the bedroom, exits the house again, comes back out of the bedroom wearing something else, comes and then exits the house again. The way that time passing is constructed in this film is really, really miraculous to me, and is really something I gravitated towards. And I think this, as an introduction to that, is definitely jarring. I was like, whoa. Like what's happening? What is he seeing? How is any of this transpiring? And then when you find out like it really is just time passing, and it's passing so quickly for the ghost that it feels like it's happening in rapid succession, kind of like stoops this movie down another level of sadness where you're like, well, shoot, We're just getting more sad. And it's really depressing.
Let's just point out all the depressing stuff about this movie and then rated an A at the end here. It's
actually,
like,
at the
it's
end of this
fucking
pod, we'll be
depressing.
rating the top 5 most depressing scenes in this film.
I love, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Ben.
sorry. I would just say, like, from a video editor standpoint, I love the scene, just like watching them like stitch it all together, and obviously the camera movement having to be perfect and all that kind of stuff. And I know you can do that now with technology, but still, like, it looked so like raw and organic. It was a beautiful, beautiful scene. And yeah, this one definitely scratched the itch on my video editor brain, where it's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. It's a great shot.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Okay, the ghosts talk. I put 2 exclamation points after this in the notes. The ghosts can talk, guys. I thought it was really cute. And I thought this was the funniest moment of the film, and a film that really obviously doesn't rely on like any comic relief or anything like that, but it is so tense and so distraught, where it's like that breakup is like so well earned, I think. And it's probably not funny to like maybe anybody else, but
I was gonna say, I want you to rank the top 5 funniest moments of this movie at the end. We'll do the depressing stuff. I want you to do what was funny to you during this movie.
Okay,
like, that really got me.
Listen, here's the thing about this movie is that they talk and they start to talk, and you're like, oh my God, okay, there's another ghost. Like, this is really interesting. More logistics questions, like what's going on, all this kind of stuff. And then the subtitles, when Casey Affleck waves to the other ghost, the subtitle says hi, and it's like, yeah, he's waving. We know he says hi. I think that is so fucking funny, in my opinion. And like, it's hilarious to me. But the ghost can talk, and I think it's very cute.
Ethan, you may be alone in thinking that's funny, because that part is where I started sobbing.
What?
Like,
oh my God, I was
when the
dying
ghost
laughing.
started talking, that's when I was just like, let's go, let's do this. And this is like on the 3rd rewatch. Like, I know this is gonna happen.
You know it's happening. Yeah. Yeah, hearing the other ghost, not hearing, but seeing the other ghost say like, I'm waiting for someone, and just like putting that together. I thought this scene was very impactful. I thought it was super powerful. I loved it.
Yeah.
You guys also think that the ghost is the other person from the car accident, right?
Wow, I had not put that together. Hold on. Whoa.
I'm gonna pretend I knew that already, but yeah,
I'm gonna say definitely 100%
totally makes sense. Yeah.
It just came to me this time. Like, I didn't pick up on it first time either, and then I was like, wait, is that obvious? Or
no, that's great.
I thought this scene was I thought the scene was so powerfully funny that I didn't pick up on it.
You were too busy wiping away your tears of laughter. Marta's got her tears of sadness.
I was just like, oh, it's a really sad cute ghost saying hi. And then David Lowery was like, just in case you didn't know, he's saying hi.
Can you imagine if we watch this together, like in person, and you're there like sitting crying tears of laughter, and I'm just
I know, I feel like I would just like look over at both of you, see you crying for very different reasons. Like, I don't know what to do.
Man, power of movies, for real. Hilarious. Hilarious in my opinion.
David Lowery back at it again with the jokes, you know. Good old funny David Lowery.
One of our funniest directors working today, David Lowery. He really gets it, you know. He really gets it. Okay, next bullet point I have on here is the kiss. Now, I don't know if you guys would constitute this as worthy of a bullet point when talking about true cinema for this film, but I wanted to put it on here. I have some thoughts about this. I want you guys to speak on this first. This is the first scene in which we get reassurance that, okay, like, life is persevering. Rooney Mara is moving on. She is going out on a date with somebody, and she proceeds to kiss them. She reacts in a negative way, kind of scurries away. What did you guys think about this moment? Was it impactful for you, like in the grand scheme of the film?
Like her, like up until the point where she scurries away?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, whatever you want to like make of her decision to kiss this person.
Yeah, I think so. I think because it's so vague how much time has passed, which is of course supposed to signify that the ghost himself doesn't even know. Yeah, I like that. It's nice to see that she's moving on. It's nice to have like a small beacon of positivity in this overwhelmingly so far bleak movie, you know? So yeah, I like that. And it also to me made sense why the ghost had the reaction that he had too, because she doesn't say anything verbally at all after he passes.
Yeah, I think one thing this movie has done for me that I haven't thought about before in other movies is like the ghost perspective on things. And so it's just like, oh yeah, I'd be super bummed too, actually. Like I'd be happy for my partner, but there would be an instinctual thing of just like, how long has this been? You're like, I have no idea how long. I don't know where, you know what I mean? Like it's just, it would, I think any time would feel too soon for me
Yeah.
from like a jealousy perspective, but it is good to see her like moving on with her life or moving forward with it.
So what I'm hearing, not a funny part of the film. Not funny when she scurries away.
Is this like top 2 for you? Is this top 3? What part?
Seriously.
This is the next funniest part. No. I think for me, this is like really where I chose to get stuck in with the movie, where I'm just like, the narrative ability of the film to basically not constitute how long it has been and still have the ghost react in the way that it did is like so hard hitting to me, where it's just like you said, Ben, like any amount of time would be too soon. It literally, it could have been a year, it could have been 5 years. I don't know, but the way that he reacted is so authentic and raw. And yeah, tough beat for Runa Mara and boyfriends on screen. The Social Network. I guess you could throw Girl with Dragon Tattoo in there. Not great look with relationships. Hopefully we can get her in a good relationship one of these days on screen, because this is again really really depressing. Will not be making the funny list on this one. Then the movie kind of picks up. I feel like this is then we've gone into the second half, like you mentioned, Marta. I think like this is where things start to be solely from the perspective of the ghost. Time is evolving and elapsing, and things are really really changing here. She leaves a note in the house. We have heard at the beginning of the film that she does this every place that she leaves a little bit of note at the house, because she believes she kind of like leaves part of herself with the space. She tucks it away in one of like kind of the door frames and proceeds to leave. Just fucking devastating stuff. I gotta be honest with you guys. Just like really, I'm just like, why would you do my guy like that? Like, why would you do this to the ghost? Do you guys think she had any idea that he was lurking around? Do you think she could like feel his presence at all?
Maybe because of the note and because of what happens at the very end.
Okay. I'm with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. I hadn't thought about it before. It's like, I just don't know, if she has any sense that he's there, but I think that definitely tracks.
I forgot to ask you guys at the top of the pod, do you guys believe in ghosts? I feel like this is an important question for this conversation.
I'm not going to say no in case
there's
yeah. Out of fear, I'm not going to say no. I don't want to be haunted. So yeah, I believe in ghosts. Sure. Yes.
Interesting. So you feel like if you said no right now, the ghost would have unfinished business with you?
Yeah, exactly. It would prove me wrong, and I don't want to deal with that right now. So I do believe
right now.
Yeah, I got a lot going on tonight. So
try again next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally fair. Okay, just a handful more bullet points here. Hispanic family moves in. The ghost haunts them. This is where things really start to take off of like, okay, time is moving forward. New families are moving in. New memories are being created. Casey Affleck, my Oppenheimer guy, he's not okay with this. And this, again, logistics here are fascinating. I have no qualms with them. Like Slice, I was just like picking apart that movie left and right, where it's like Ghost would never do this. He apparently can grab dishes and glasses of milk and throw them across the house. This is what sparks up the set of events that causes this house to become known as haunted, and then proceeds to take us kind of into the final 35 minutes of the film, and really like the thematic core of what we're getting at here. I didn't know that he could touch plates, more power to him. Pretty cool stuff. Not funny, but pretty cool.
I think it's funny that you just slid in there your Oppenheimer guy like in the episode. Like, let's just make sure everyone remembers that he was one of the 50 white guys in Hollywood.
Fucking pivotal to that movie. Don't even get me started.
So important.
He sucked off the entire back 90 minutes without him.
The back 90 minutes, Jesus Christ, that sentence. Like, this entire movie is like,
what do you want me to do? You want me to be like, oh, my guy that just made The Instigators one of the worst movies of the year? Yeah, he's really showing up in a ghost story.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate.
Tough.
Like my Ocean's 11 guy, something like that. You don't have to Oppenheimer. I love this scene. I thought this was awesome. This is another example, like the kiss, where it's just like, oh, from the ghost perspective, this sucks. These people like are in his house, you know. So it's just like with that rage or like whatever. I don't know if he's like intentionally trying to scare them or if he's just dealing with his emotions. Like, yeah, I guess like in a lot of the hauntings we hear their perspective, but it's interesting to like have lived with them beforehand before this new family comes in. So this, I don't know, this really worked for me. I thought this was a great scene, and I don't know, it's just, yeah, I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh,
Hell
wow,
yeah.
not as high on it.
No, I did. I'm like, I'm agreeing with everything that Ben says, but again, this is now like veering into the territory where I'm like, give me back Rooney Mara.
Yeah,
More
yeah.
pie.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just like the whole back half of the movie. You're just like, when can we eat more pie, please, God? Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I do think like technically it's really, really well done from the perspective of the ghost. Like it is pretty tragic that this is happening. Does the kid see the ghost, or does the kid just have a feeling that he's there? Because like we cut back and forth between them kind of like looking in each other's direction. So it feels as if he might understand that there's at least a presence there.
I feel like that's just like ghost tropes that that children can always see ghosts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just
Yeah.
a thing.
I just like the phrase ghost tropes. I think it's funny. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
I think that would be a great short film, to be honest.
Ghost tropes.
Ghost tropes, and it's just like a bunch of ghost tropes just crammed together in a single location.
Yeah.
Would this movie qualify as a single location movie? Speaking of movie draft podcast, real fast.
In my opinion, I would say like over 90% of it takes place in one location. That kind of feels like a one location, single location movie.
Okay. I didn't
I would
draft
say
it.
so.
The episode's coming out in a few days when this episode posts. So
Disappointed.
I'm also
It depends how
disappointed in myself.
serious you are with it, right? Like if you want to stick to 100% one location, never once in a different location, then no. But I would say yes.
Ethan's one to break the rules. His favorite Christmas movie, Goodfellas.
This is a great listen. This is a great amuse boost because in that episode, I'll give listeners a little preview. The episode comes out on Tuesday. I mentioned Goodfellas as a Christmas film. That's incredible that you hit that on the head, Ben. I love you and well done. The second question I was going to throw out, because we are an A24 pod, would you guys consider Midsommar to be a single location film? They travel, but they travel to a single location in which the rest of the film takes place.
See, again, it's like a logistical thing. If we're not being super duper strict, then yes.
Yeah, if you're comparing it to like 12 Angry Men, it's like in one room, you know, like that's one thing. This is like an entire camp. So like, I guess you're not wrong, but it's like, yeah, I don't know.
No, fair. Interesting. I urge people to listen to that episode of the podcast when it comes out to see what happened when I tried to purvey Midsommar on my team. I'll just put it that way. Okay, next bullet point here, Beethoven/legacy monologue. Marta, what did you think of this monologue? Because I'm going to take a guess that it didn't work for you at all.
Well, and this is the thing. I feel like this is a movie. Here's the thing. This is the type of movie that I think it completely depends on what sort of mood you're in, especially this scene. Because when I watched this for the first time, I was like, this entire monologue, this is so depressing because this guy's basically saying like, don't bother creating anything because everything's going to be gone anyway, right? And then during this rewatch, I was like, well, wait a minute. Just because he's saying something doesn't mean that it needs to be true. I think this is a moment where it really opens it up for the viewer to think about it. So the way I saw it or interpreted it as is, honestly, I feel like this rewatch made me think a bit more optimistically about the film. Because I took away from that monologue, like, you know what, we should be creating, we should be making art, we should be doing what we're doing artistically, whatever, because we can leave a legacy behind. Just because this guy in this random home at a house party says that it doesn't matter, why do we have to listen to him? You know?
He just reminded me of like the worst person at any frat party.
Yes.
Like he's just the absolute worst, but everything you said is correct. Like I do think
agreed.
it should like inspire you to like leave whatever kind of legacy you want to leave, to create and like express yourself. But the moment he turned to people like, you have kids, they're gonna die. I was like, okay, fuck, guy, like chill out, you know, like let someone cut him off. Like he's had enough tonight. Like it was a wild conversation.
That's how I feel. I don't like him.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite, actually. But I think this moment really made me think about the film overall and whether or not it is a depressing movie or whether it has pockets of optimism like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty funny monologue in my opinion. Probably second favorite, second funniest moment of the movie.
You're slowly ranking them. I like it.
I think this part actually really works for me. Initially, it took me out of it because I was like, "Whoa, we're taking like a really steep kind of like a left-hand turn into like what we've been doing, and we're just gonna monologue for 7 minutes about like legacy and future and like what does it all matter?" And Marta, like you said, like should we create? Is it even worth it? Like how does the human race persevere and live on? This is terrible, and like people are gonna get so mad at this, and I'm so sorry that you guys have to listen to this, but like it's the second time now that I brought up Megalopolis on this spot. It's literally the same thing that Caesar Catalina is doing at the end of Megalopolis, where he's just like, what does it all mean? And how do we all make sure that the human race perseveres and is hopeful for the future? And it is, I think you can like take it either way. And like for me, since I've only seen this movie the one time, I initially took it very depressing. And I was like, God damn it. Like, yeah, okay. Like it is, what is it all worth? Because even though we're watching a movie about a ghost that is persisting to live through time, is that not legacy enough? Is like there not something in that? The first time I watched Megalopolis, I walked away with the same thing, the same idea of like, God, this is depressing. Like the human race is just fucked, honestly. And then the second time I watched Megalopolis, I was like, we can do it. We can use the Megalon to create new Rome. And I felt great about it. And so I wonder how I'll walk away the second time that I watch a ghost story. This guy, terrible person though. House gets demolished. Probably the second saddest scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Yep.
Barely gets a hold of the note. It's done. Like, oh.
Just literally.
But again, like talking about like great composition on shots, like as that bulldozer's pulling away and the ghost is just like, he's just standing there in the back. Like I thought it was a beautiful shot. I thought it was so well done.
Mm-hmm. Is this where the other ghost, neighbor ghost, drops?
Whoa, spoiler alert, Marta. Didn't we tell you no spoilers?
No spoilers. We're not in spoiler territory yet. Like an hour into this pod. Like, no spoilers.
Yeah, this is where the neighbor's house also gets demolished, and the neighbor ghost, I believe, says something to the effect of like, I don't think they're coming back, and then immediately poofs. And that's like a big click moment in terms of like what is going on in this world is like, cool. They're holding on to this presence because they have an attachment to somebody, because they believe that somebody still believes in them, which is actually very akin to Coco, which I thought was kind of funny. And how like that whole ghost world works. Beautiful shot composition in the scene. I think is like some of the most beautiful shots for sure. Apparently the house was already going to be demolished. And so David Lowery was like, cool, we'll just like shoot in there. Nice. And they got the approval. This whole project was like under wraps. Spit takes was under a sheet. And nobody knew that it was filming. So with that in mind, I thought the scene that we're about ready to come up to, like the future, when they're building this big corporate high rise, and the ghost is like looking out over it. If nobody knew that this movie was filming, Molly did say when she was watching, she's like, how scary would that be if like you walked by this and you just saw a ghost on the top level of a concrete building? I'd be like, that's horrifying. It's so scary. And then the future. I want to talk about the future. Pretty intense stuff.
Which future?
All the futures, Marta. The whole thing.
Well, okay, wow, we totally are disagreeing about this.
Oh, this is fascinating.
This is so fascinating.
This is my wheelhouse. Okay. I live for this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I want to hear your take. I really do.
Well, I don't know if I'm jumping way too far ahead, because that's why I'm asking. There's the future with the high rises.
Okay.
But then after that, it's going back in time.
Yeah. So if you look at the Wikipedia for this, which I just pulled up to try to get information about the rated R, maybe there's like a nude cut or something that we're not getting. There is what they call the celestial sphere rotates in reverse, and C finds himself in a field in the 19th century with a man who's driving stakes into the ground. At no point in the film is it ever alluded to that there is a celestial sphere, and I have a lot of questions about that.
Well, what about the quote at the start of the film by Virginia Woolf?
Oh, this is interesting. This is true. I can't remember the quote verbatim though. You gotta help me
It was whatever hour you wake, there was a door shutting.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that in itself, could speak to the passage of time, everything being transient, and especially for a ghost.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is that you are anti-ghost time traveling. You think ghosts should be condemned to the only moment in which they died.
No. I just think I'm just following logic.
Marta, this movie's about a ghost. Yeah.
The logic that I'm getting at is if we're gonna go by what we see on paper or on film, I guess, it has to be back in time, because then afterwards we get back into. Can I spoil it?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. No, yeah, of course.
When we get back to the house again later on, like that to me is like, so it's a loop.
Yeah.
It's a time loop versus future.
No, is this not just the building of New Rome? Like, is this not a Megalopolis prequel? Is what I'm trying to get at here. I think
in the new movie to contend with now, Spotlight, Oppenheimer, and Megalopolis. I'm gonna hear about it every single week.
I still haven't seen it, guys.
I haven't either.
I think you're both just gonna hate it, to be honest. But I'm here for it, and I hope that you're on the squad. I am with you, Marta. I think what is so interesting to me is that we get the future. We get this corporate high rise.
Mm-hmm.
We see it being fulfilled. We see him occupying this space. We then proceed for him to walk out on an unfenced balcony, which I thought was a big logistical oversight on David Lowery's part. This building is like 75 stories high, and there's no fence on the top floor, overlooking what appears to be a Blade Runner-esque type future. Right? We can only assume hundreds of years in the future. There's a lot at play here that I think like you can logistically break down. You can like kind of like think about, but he proceeds to jump off of this story and then finds himself all of a sudden in a field in what appears to be the past with pioneers building a home. I do think you're right. Like, I think we go to the past.
Cool.
I think it is like a ever looping situation. What I find interesting is like, would that happen every time? Like, if he got if he did something to kill himself in the past, where would he go? Would he go back to the Stone Age?
In the Victoria time? Yeah. Interesting.
Probably to the original
I see
Rome.
what you're saying.
The original Rome. Not in Megalopolis. that one.
But the place of the movie is not to determine that. I think it's interesting that that's the choice that he makes. He was like, well, I've lived hundreds of years and I guess it's never happening. So I might as well just jump off the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty depressing shit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just come to the realization like it's not happening. So end it all, even though it's already ended. Yeah.
It's super depressing.
It's really depressing. Yeah, the notes I put here, the bullet point, the future in all caps, and then the next bullet point, pioneers in all caps. So that's that was my take.
See, that's why I was confused, because I was looking at your notes and I thought it's this is so dumb. I thought it said
pioneers of the future.
The future pioneers. And I remember reading that. I'm like, Ethan, really?
He's taking a spin on it. Yeah.
That'd be a fucking sick take if I was like, he went so far in the future that humanity became pioneers again.
We just reset completely.
You talk about Megalopolis brain. That's it right there. Holy, that'd be sick as fuck. The pioneer scene, I do want to take a quick moment to break this down. What I find most important about this scene is that the girl writes a note or draws a piece of art and proceeds to fold it and stick it under a rock. This is, to me, like David Lowery's attempt at like, we've always been the same. We always will be the same. It's all about remembering things, people, ideas, pieces of art, things that we create. And then the girl proceeds to just get shot by arrows. I don't know how soon after that, but again, like top 3 most depressing moments for sure.
I
I thought
really
it was
like that
funny.
take.
I thought it was a funny scene. It's great.
You were like,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
that's good shit. They
Yeah.
got shot by arrows.
Here it
Hilarious.
is. You wrote your last note. Oh, yeah.
Haha, joke's on you. You'll never write another note again.
Do we get time jumps of like the bodies decomposing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? That's what's
Dude,
happening here. Okay.
So cool.
That's what I assumed it was. I was like, but I'm like, did they get burned alive or are we just watching it decompose? Like, yeah. But
It's pretty jarring.
It's intense.
It's super jarring. Not funny, Ben. Take
Not
it back.
funny at all. Take it number 3 funniest moments.
Okay, and then I just have 2 bullet points. We'll combine them into one here. Kind of the ending montage. Again, we're moving through time. The house has now been built. Rooney Mara's back in the home. We kind of get the full circle moment, which I again like a little bit of a ghost trope of like it was him all along, and like the piano and knocking something over, and we get the full connection to seeing the same situation occur, but from the ghost's perspective. And then we see another ghost, presumably one that already is only on the first rotation of the celestial sphere, I guess you could say. And we see their life and all of the good things. And then he gets the note and he poofs away. And quite honestly, I wanted to turn into a ghost at that moment. I'm too sad even thinking about it. It's like, I'm not even kidding you. It's like after some levels of sadness.
Wouldn't you say that it's optimistic though, the ending? He finally got his solace. He can finally move on.
Yeah, super sick. He's not a ghost anymore. Where'd he go, Marta? I
Yeah,
thought he was
pros
happy.
and
I thought he was
cons,
happy. You know, I thought he was happy. He's like, yo, look at this dope future I got to live in. Might as well kill myself because they're so terrible.
How much did you want to know what's on the note?
So fucking bad.
Right? It's kind of like Lost in Translation ending. It's like, I just want to know what he whispered to her kind of thing.
I was going to
just
say
like,
it's very Pam's teapot situation from The Office.
okay.
What's the
I was
note?
waiting for something from Spotlight. Honestly, I was just waiting for something to happen. But yeah, for sure.
It's a true he knew the whole time
He
situation.
did know the whole time.
Did you guys hear that Rooney Mara forgot what she wrote?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Apparently it was between her and David Lowery, or maybe just her. Like, I think you just told her to write something down, but she forgot in the years since.
Can we make a pact here on this pod, this safe space, that if one of us ever comes into contact with Rooney Mara, we will just absolutely pester her with what did the note say in a ghost story?
You gotta know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she just wrote down like, this pie tastes like ass. You know, she's like, this pie was fucking awful. Maybe that's what she wrote.
And that was his, that was his closing moment.
This
He was
pie
like,
tastes
damn,
like ass.
Okay, so what the note had to have said had to essentially give Casey Affleck's ghost beyond a reasonable doubt that he has been forgotten. Is that the way that it works based on what we understand?
Wait, repeat that again.
So the reason that the first ghost poofs is because they lose faith in the idea that people still remember them.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Same thing has to apply to Casey Affleck's ghost. Whenever he reads that note, he realizes that his wife has officially moved on with her life and has no connection or connective tissue to him. Right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I mean, the note could either say like, yeah, or it could be like a legacy type thing where the note says like, maybe this is the spot where I loved my husband, but more poetic,
God damn it, Marta.
obviously.
That's so good. Holy
That's
cow.
what I thought. It was
good.
like more of like a he was remembered kind of thing, and then he poofs.
Yeah.
Like that's how I took it.
Oh.
Your point makes total sense. It's like that's logical for sure. But I guess I just went too optimistically. It's like, oh, she remembered him on her way out kind of thing. But
so like there was no reason for his ghost presence to persist because he was forever in that location.
Well, because think about it this way: ever since he dies and becomes a ghost, he has no idea whether or not she's moving on verbally. Like she does not say anything, and maybe that note finally gave him the closure that he was after.
Yeah.
Wow, pretty sad movie. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Tough. Okay, well, let's rank the top 3 funniest moments of a ghost story, and then we'll proceed with our A1 act. No, let's do true cinema. Marta, I hope you pick the future of pioneers as your true
The
cinema
future
moment.
pioneers.
It sounds great. What are you gonna pick for your true cinema moment? Could be a moment that you know emotionally attached to the most, one that you might find stylistically intriguing, funny per se, whatever floats your boat.
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think the first time the two ghosts see each other, because that's when I start sobbing. I just think it's so sad when the other ghost finds out that I
Yeah.
don't know who I'm waiting for anymore, and then later on, no, that's the moment. Yeah, when he says, "I don't know who I'm waiting for
Yeah.
anymore." That's what killed me. To just be stuck in that space forever and not even know what you're waiting for day in and day out. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not so funny anymore.
Sorry, guys. It's the pie.
Yeah. I mean, that is my moment. I really love the pie eating. I was blown away by that scene. Yeah, just insanely well done. And yeah, that's my favorite.
That's good. I mean, impressive for a guy who doesn't really like pie to choose that as his favorite scene in the movie. That's bold.
how I knew like she was really suffering for her art. Like that probably tastes awful. And she's eating the whole thing.
Like this must be terrible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the demolishing of the home.
Ooh.
I think that is definitely my favorite scene. I think both visually, stylistically. I think the score, we haven't even mentioned the score in this movie, is like pretty
Yeah.
dynamite. I think like the original song by my Oppenheimer boy, Casey Affleck, is a banger. I think it's pretty good. I think it's ridiculously sad, and you could argue it's a little overbearing and too on the nose, but I think it's pretty good. So I'll go with the demolishing of the homes. Okay, let's do our A1 act for movies that have ghosts in them. I feel like that's appropriate for a ghost story. Okay, so obviously we are going to do a ghost story, and I've got a long list. I'm hoping I covered enough here where you guys can't go off list, but I'm always surprised, especially by you, Ben, and your ability to pick something out of a hat. The Sixth Sense, Poltergeist, Ghostbusters, classic, The Shining, The Others, Beetlejuice, The Conjuring, Field of Dreams. Speaking of hopeful, it's a movie about baseball and ghosts. The Frighteners, Coco, Pet Sematary, Corpse Bride, Stir of Echoes, The Devil's Backbone, Casper, friendly. What is that? Is Casper a friendly neighborhood ghost, or is that just Spider-Man?
Yeah, no, it's Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, but not neighborhood specific. Just a friendly ghost.
Just a friendly. Could be anywhere. Not tied down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not tied down to a location.
There you
Different
go,
ghost logistics. Okay, fascinating. What Lies Beneath, Nanny, Sleepy Hollow, House. Is that how you say this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
House on Haunted Hill, Rebecca, the Hitchcock film, Candyman, Spirited Away, Ringu, The Innocents, and Ugetsu. These is essentially an aggregate of a lot of movies that I saw on like top movies about ghosts. What are you gonna go with, Marta? What's your favorite movie? You can go off list too. Don't be intimidated that I said you got to stay on list.
I was gonna say, yeah. Can I go off list?
Please do.
So this is my favorite ghost movie.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be your favorite.
Or,
It could just be a ghost movie you want to give a good shout to.
Yeah, I'll pick. I think, is it by Stanley Kwan? Rouge. Have you guys heard of Rouge?
No.
Stanley. Let me double check if that is Stanley Kwan. Yeah, that's Stanley Kwan. Yeah, Rouge is great. Rouge is fantastic. Do you want me to quickly explain?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's this couple. They're in love in, gosh, I don't know, 1930s Hong Kong, and they have this pact together, and they both die, and then she comes back to haunt present day Hong Kong and find her lost love.
Dang.
Wow.
It's really beautiful. So I would go for that, or I would go for Kwaidan, which is like an anthology movie of literally 4 Japanese ghost stories. So
Nice.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's dope. It looks like Rouge is streaming on Criterion Channel currently. So
it sure
good
is. I
spot
have
to
it
check
here
out.
as well somewhere, but yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Mhm.
Okay. Good pick. Ben, what do you got?
Ooh, I mean, I want to go.
Are you a Field of Dreams guy, by the way?
I've seen it. Is that what you're asking? I don't know. I have seen it before.
Did not pass the vibe check. Okay.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to go off list and just do like Prisoner of Azkaban with old Moaning Myrtle, you know.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think maybe that's just what I'll do. I'll just pick that.
I was seriously hoping you were going to be like, well, I'm not going to choose that one and then choose something else so I could have Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, I thought you're such a Bill Cosby guy. I thought you were going with Ghost Dad. Is that not what you're picking? I know you're big on Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We got to get Bill Cosby in the conversation.
Yeah,
making movies again. Man, yeah, Harry Potter. That's a good shout. I guess, like, I really liked A Ghost Story, but I'm not going to pick it. That's not very good podcasting. I guess I'm going to pick. I mean, guys, what are we talking? Ghostbusters. Like, what are we talking about here? You got to pick Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah,
it's in the title.
1 or 2.
Bustin' makes me feel good. Hard not to pick a movie.
Wait, are you picking like a current Ghostbusters? You're not even doing like the old, like original Ghostbusters? You want Frozen Empire? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, big Reitman fan. No, I'm going with the OG. Going with Ghostbusters 1. Sigourney Weaver, right?
Yeah.
Dude, scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy movie. I like
surprised neither of you said Ghost.
Is that a film?
Yeah.
It's just called Ghost?
Yeah, the clay making, it's iconic.
Whoopi Goldberg and Demi Moore.
Yeah.
Is it even about a ghost? Because I was almost duped with a ghost story. So
very much about a ghost.
Yes.
Before Sam was murdered, he told Molly he'd love and protect her forever. Oh boy. Well, that's intense. Yeah, I went a different direction. I think Ghostbusters and Bustin' makes me feel good is pretty cool.
I agree. Okay. I agree.
Good. We all agree. That's great. We've made a pact here about 2 things today. Let's do our A24 ranking. Marta, I'll throw it to you first. You can choose A through F24. You can put in some pluses, some minuses. What letter grade would you give A Ghost Story?
I would give it a B plus.
Wow, B plus. That's pretty good. That's really good. Okay, Ben, what do you got?
I think second week in a row. I'm just going with the A24. I loved it. Had a great time.
Man, yeah,
super funny. Super funny. Couldn't stop.
I'm going to clip that, right? I'm going to be like, this psycho thought A Ghost Story was funny. Someone help this man. I really like A Ghost Story. In my big letterbox list of over 100 A24 movies, I have it ranked at 22, which I feel like is pretty high, especially on a first watch. Does that constitute an A24? Or is that a B plus?
Why not split the difference?
Top 20%. A minus.
Yeah.
Ooh. I forgot I could do that. Let's go with an A minus. I like that.
I didn't know we could do A minus.
Yeah. You want to switch it up?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. Well,
too late. Written in stone, Marta. Can't change it.
It's fine. I have it at a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so that's probably a B plus.
Nice.
Okay. See, I have it a 4.5, so I feel like it has to be in that A range.
That's what I had it at before as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Ben, when you log this movie in 100 years, what are you going to rate it?
It'll be my first one I log of 2025. I'll look back to October. Like, it's been 3 months. It's time to log it. Probably 4.5 stars.
Okay. I gave it 4.5. Do you think they have Letterboxd for ghosts?
You better hope so. Otherwise you're gonna be bored as shit. So, yeah.
Yeah. God, what's it all for? All right. Next week on the pod, long-awaited conversation. We're talking about We Live in Time, the new Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield, another time-hopping movie. Really interesting that we chose 2 time hoppers. But I'm curious, Ben, what you're going to think about this film. I'll probably see it a second time before we pod about it. But yeah, it's a movie. It's out there. I don't want to say anything yet. I don't want to say anything.
It's the best Spider-Man. I'm excited about it.
Wow, this is neither the time nor the place.
He is. Listen, if you can quote
don't
reference
listen
Megalopolis multiple times in an episode, I can throw out one. Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man out there. I think we're okay.
We got to cut. I'm actually cutting that out of the pod. Marta, thanks so much for joining the pod. This has been a great conversation about A Ghost Story. If people want to find more of you, where can they find you at?
They can find me at marta.mcfly. They could also find me at McFly's Movie House, my podcast, or Letterboxd Marta McFly, no period. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Always a pleasure, always a treat.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Will you be coming back on during Oscar season to talk about the Best Picture nominee that is forthcoming in Megalopolis?
If you want me to.
I've never heard somebody sound so excited. Quite honestly, that's incredible stuff. Marta, thank you for being on the pod. We look forward to having you back. Definitely hoping you come back for Oscar season. Join us again for another conversation.
I would love to. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. What are your thoughts on Ghost Story? Let us know what you thought. We're on Twitter.
Is it
Instagram.
funny? That's really the question we should put
How
out there.
funny is it? Like, how funny is David Lowery? Yeah. Is a big quiche pie? Let us know. we're dying to know. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well, where you can watch us have these crazy conversations. Thank you everybody for your support. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.